A very good evening to you all. Welcome to Rwanda English News Television. We are here to give you the latest news. We are glad you could join us. Let us begin with the headlines. Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, emphasized that the need for sustainable solution following the recent fifth three-party ministerial meeting under the Rwanda process. Visitors to Rwanda and service providers in the tourism sector agree that there is no need to change travel plans in the light of Marburg virus outbreak. My name is Olive Netinto. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And now let's take a closer look at the news. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, reiterated on the recent fifth tripartite ministerial meeting under the Rwanda process and the sustainable solution on this issue. In an exclusive interview with RBA Adams Kwizera, we will hear more on this.
But to understand the outcome of the meeting, it's important to go back to the fourth ministerial meeting that took place on 14th of September. During that meeting, the meeting was blocked, I would say. We were in an impasse because my colleague from DRC had opposed a harmonized plan that was agreed on by intelligence experts of the three countries in a meeting held in the Rubavu on 29th and 30th of August. That was actually a breakthrough because the plan was a detailed plan with a timeline on how to conduct operations against the FDLR, this genocidal force that committed genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, and then which could be followed by the lifting of Rwanda's security and defense measures. But unfortunately, while I supported on behalf of Rwanda that plan, my colleague from DRC had rejected that plan, arguing that for her and for DRC, the operations should be simultaneous, held or conducted at the same time. Then she also opposed at that time that intelligence experts and military experts are convened again to adopt a concept of Operation CONOPS that could go into details of that plan. But on the fifth meeting, which we are talking about, which was held on 12th of October, last Saturday, we agreed on several issues. First, we agreed to support the current ceasefire, the ceasefire between the warring parties in Eastern DRC, and then we called on the parties to respect that ceasefire, which entered into force on 4th of August. That is number one. And then number two, we reiterated our disagreement on the harmonized plan I was talking about. Rwanda reiterated its support to that plan as adopted by experts of the three countries. And the DRC presented an alternative plan that could ensure simultaneity of the operations. So we reiterated our disagreement on this plan. But as we didn't agree on the sequencing of events, we at least agreed on the activities and responsibilities of parties. So the activities contained in the plan, we all agreed, including those who are responsible of carrying them out. So we agreed on those activities, and then we tasked the facilitator, Angola, to prepare a concept of operations, the CONOPS, basing on the contributions of the two countries, DRC and Rwanda, and also taking into account their concerns. We gave them the date of 26th of October to provide that CONOPS. And then on 30th of October, we convened a meeting of experts of the three countries to review that CONOPS prepared by the facilitator, and which would later on be submitted to the ministers, to the ministerial meeting. And so we agreed on that, and we believe that that could help us to have more, I would say, more details on the operations to be conducted against the FDLR, which could lead also to the lifting of our defense and security measures. This is, in general, the outcome of the meeting of last Saturday.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you've been attending these several meetings several times, and in your view, what's the way forward? Or do you even see there is some crucial steps needed to be taken for either DRC to put an end on these security issues that is found in the eastern DRC?
Yes, actually the solution to this crisis in eastern DRC is not that complicated when you look at it. We need political will, just political will, on the side of DRC to find a lasting solution to the crisis. And then there are three areas or three steps that needs to be undertaken by DRC. First, the government of the DRC needs to own up the conflict in eastern DRC and stop this scapegoating of Rwanda, these endless accusations against Rwanda about this crisis in bilateral visits, in ministerial meetings of ministers of sport, of environment, of agriculture. They always accuse Rwanda, which is inappropriate. So we request the DRC to own up this crisis. They even went as far as trying to oppose our support to Mozambique because we have troops there. Then they opposed support by the European Union to this force, which is for not Rwandans but Mozambican, the people of Mozambique. So they should own up this crisis and address the root causes of the issue of the M23. And we know the issue of the M23, what it is, because they are defending a community, the Congolese Tutsi, who are there not because of Rwanda, but because of the colonial borders that were drawn more than a century ago. And we have Congolese of Rwandan culture, Rwandan heritage, but who are Congolese nonetheless. So, and in the past, in the history of DRC and Zaire before DRC, they were disenfranchised. They were given citizenship, and then that citizenship later on was withdrawn. And now we are facing hate speech, discrimination, persecution. So it's an issue that they need to address, tackling the root causes of the crisis. And for that, they need to engage into direct dialogue with that movement in order, of course, to find really a lasting solution to that crisis. That is number one, the issue of the M23, and then the need for DRC to own up this crisis. And then second is the FDLR, those genocidaires who are still there, who not only were not disarmed or moved away from the border after the genocide against the Tutsi, but who are now embedded into the army, the Congolese army. There are daily collaboration between FDLR and the FRDC. And we believe that if the DRC wants to solve the conflict in Eastern DRC, needs really to get to cut this link with the FDLR and neutralize them with the support of the international community, because the international community, even Rwanda, we are willing to support them dealing with the FDLR. But for that, as I told you, there is a need of political will and good faith by the FRDC. And then third, there are we have an issue with foreign forces that are in Eastern DRC. There are, of course, also militias, the Wazalendo, which are in DRC and which also share the same genocide ideology with the FDLR. And there is the foreign forces, mainly Burundian forces, sharing the same ideology, who are deployed in Eastern DRC. And there are also the Sami DRC, the forces of SADC, who are deployed with an offensive mandate to work with a coalition that includes FDLR genocidaires, which is unacceptable. And then there are European mercenaries, which were deployed to support the FRDC coalition in total violation of a convention of the UN and also a convention of the OAU, which became the AU. So we would appeal on those countries, including in the countries in Europe, to think twice about what they are doing in Eastern DRC, because it doesn't help peace. Because what we wish in Eastern DRC, what we have expressed on several occasions, is that we need a political solution. So those forces are not helping Congo, they are not helping the region in finding that lasting solution for Eastern DRC.
Moving ahead, some residents and legal experts argue that a citizen's right to land should not be compromised merely because the land has not been used productively. This is in response to the ministerial order concerning the temporary requisition and termination of land ownership contracts. We have more. The Ministry of Environment's order outlines the principles and procedures for temporary land acquisition and the termination of land ownership contracts, particularly in cases where land designated for economic activities and development remains unproductive. However, some residents see this as a contentious issue.
I see it in two ways. It may seem unfair depending on the person's ability, but it may not be unfair when considering the fact that the person may be financially stable with various plots of land they are not using productively. In that case, this article is relevant to them.
The land cannot be taken away or deprived from you, but if you are unable to use it at the moment, they may ask you for your consent and allow someone else to use it temporarily. I would suggest calling it lending the land temporarily rather than temporary requisition, because the land may be part of someone's legacy. You cannot simply take land inherited from their family and assume you can take it away from them. Lawyer Janvier Bayingana offers his own perspective on how this order should be analyzed.
If you examine how this order was established, it appears to be designed to accelerate the country's development and advance the master plan. Its purpose is to boost the economy, and there's no doubt that this order serves as the driving force to make things happen.
Dr. Safari Emmanuel, Executive Secretary of CLADO, a human rights organization, emphasizes that citizens' rights to land must be safeguarded.
Human rights must be respected, and there should be no rush to take away someone's land. Authorities should first engage in discussions with the citizen to ensure their participation in the process. They need to provide time for dialogue, listen to their concerns, and assist in resolving the issues that have prevented them from developing their land.
Grace Nishimwe, Director General of the National Land Authority, states that there are established precedents for the temporary requisition of land and the termination of land ownership contracts.
This
order includes preconditions that must be met before land can be requisitioned or contracts terminated. For land designated as agriculture, livestock or forest land, land use reports must be submitted annually with updates every 6 months. If a citizen was registered in the previous year and fails to provide a valid reason for not utilizing the land productively, or if they did not find someone else to use it, the procedures for requisitioning the land will begin. This means that the process takes a year for agriculture, livestock and forest land. For residential land, the contract can be terminated after a period of 5 years. A report on land use is compiled over these 5 years, indicating how the land has not been utilized properly. If the report demonstrates this misuse, procedures for terminating the land ownership contract will commence. In both cases, land requisition and termination of the land ownership contract, the landlord is given a 90-day notice period. During this time, the landlord can provide reasons for the improper use of the land, take measures to ensure proper use, temporarily lease it, sell it, or transfer it to someone else who will use it temporarily. The ministerial order from the Ministry of Environment concerning the temporary requisition of land and termination of land ownership contracts was published in the Official Gazette Number Special on July 11th, 2024. Moving ahead to more news, User Company Limited has successfully completed the acquisition of the renowned Kigali Heights building for approximately 43 billion Rwandan francs. In a press interview, Dr. Philip Goodwin, CEO of the Fusion Capital, the firm behind the Kigali Heights project, expressed his satisfaction with the Rwandan government's leadership, particularly in legislation and justice.
So we particularly appreciate the one-stop service that RDB provides. It's one of the most efficient systems that I've come across around the world. They really helped us come in. We of course have had some difficulties with the investment. Every investment carries its things that go wrong and things that don't quite go the way you want them to go. We found that in Rwanda we can resolve difficulties. We've used the arbitration service, we've used the commercial courts, and we found them to be fair and impartial. And we've also found the administrative system to be efficient.
Yusuf Karingani, CEO of User Company Limited, assured the public that the company will continue to provide high-quality services while upholding their existing standards. He emphasized that their operations are designed to minimize disruptions for customers.
So since the price was okay with the people, we won't change it. It will remain the same. Instead, we'll focus on providing a better service than what was previously available. When you enter the business politics, you can't just immediately raise the price that was set.
Karingani also highlighted the company's commitment to investing in Rwanda, crediting their growth to the country's favorable governance policies. User Company Limited originally focused on importing and exporting, but has since expanded into transportation and real estate. Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast. On behalf of the technical and news production team, we wish you a productive week ahead.